And yes, I did write all those because, and became very ill and really couldn't work, so I just sat in a room and wrote so she could have a dignified exit. And of course, while she died on set, she certainly lived on beyond that quite some time. But she was, that was my introduction to working on Neighbours in the writing department, because that was one of the first things I did. It was baptism by fire, learning to find people's voices and turn out scripts quickly. Same thing, fast writing. But despite all the fast writing, there are many writers that really want to make it good too, and you do your best. And it was a great experience for me as a television writer to do all that. Yeah.
Did you and Ian ever cross paths on Neighbours?
Oh yes, well, yeah. We didn't tend to go onto the set when they were shooting at all. But Ian and I wrote a lot of Ian stuff, and I loved writing for Ian. Well, one thing that happens is sometimes you run under time, and you get a quick call from the floor saying we're under time, we need a 2-minute scene. The only actors we've got are Ian Smith and somebody available to do it at the time was on set, so we don't have to bring anybody in, would be, they'll name 2 actors, completely unrelated. And you think, oh, well that's a little bit of a test. And you sit down and try and create a scene that they could interact with for 2 minutes. And those filler scenes became the best fun to write, because you didn't have any story depending on them. And the actors like Ian and like Jackie and Alan, they would just leap into those and do them. They were brilliant. And I was always so proud when I saw them, because they just did such a wonderful job.
It is good, because you have to not only write for the actor or actress, you have to write so as to not upset the audience.
Yeah.
You have to nurse
and not affect the
their
story.
favourite characters. Yeah. And it can be very hard. And my God, if you go outside the bounds of keeping the audience happy, boy, do you find out about that.
Yeah. But good letters. Sometimes letters were good. I remember someone writing to me in Neighbours saying, my children love watching the show, but when people go into the coffee shop, they never pay. They'd say, thanks a lot, take the coffee and walk away. And I hadn't noticed it. And I thought, actually, that's a terrible thing. It was a really good point. And so after that, I made a note, and I said to all the other writers, make sure they pay. Make sure you say him. And Harold would say, I'll give you your change, So it actually looked like a normal transaction, instead of everyone just going, yeah, thanks for that, off we go. Which, isn't necessarily a good role model.
The things they notice is incredible. I was travelling around the country, in Victoria, with my wife, and we were in a hotel. This guy came up to me and he said, Harold did the most sensible thing with a cup of tea. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you get the hot water and you put the tea bag in, and then you put the tag of the tea bag under the cup, so that when it wouldn't fly out when you put afterwards when you put the water in. I said, oh, all right. That's what I do, so that's why Harold did it.
Do any of you have a funny fan story? I know when we interviewed Kate Hood, who played Kath Maxwell on Talking Prisoner, she said that she was at a park once and there was a wedding happening, photography, and the bride actually left the wedding, ran over to Kate and called her, went off ahead of her, called her a child murderer. It was just crazy. Quite clear that she wasn't, which is the part.
She was.
Oh, she was. It just blew me away that they could actually. Yeah, I mean, do you have a strange interaction like that over the years? Any of you?
I got chased down the street in Malacca by a bus full of Dutch tourists. Hilarious. Yo-yo, I mean, seriously. And they screamed me so that there was no escape till I signed everything they could find.
Strange.
We used to play terrible jokes on the English backpackers when we were working in the street outside. And some summers they were stinky hot. We were dying. with makeup and everything. Anyway, when we went back to the buses we had out the back where we would have our wardrobe and our makeup and everything, we used to, we used to say we had to go down and see the tourists, and we'd be dying, the sweat would be pouring off us, and we'd rip into the wardrobe bus and get great big heavy pullovers, and then go down and see them. We'd be putting them on and say, oh, sorry, it's turned cold, but there you go. And these poor poms, they would go, cold? You've got to be joking. They were dying, they were down to a pair of shorts and nothing else. And, they believe us.
Well, that's funny. Ian, now you were quite close to Tom Oliver on Neighbours, who was also on Prisoner, and no one really sort of speaks about Tom's time on Prisoner, but
Tom does.
Tom does. What was it like working with Tom? I mean, especially on Neighbours.
You had to be on your toes. There was one thing that Tom really made every actor that worked with him on the floor. You had to know why you were in the scene, because he'd test you out, and he was right to do so. And there was only one time that we ever walked away from the script, and it was a scene pointing out how the two of us had grown old ungracefully. And we were in the kitchen, in the Ramsey kitchen, and I walked in and I heard, help! I said, Tom, not Tom, what was his name? Lou, where are you? On the floor. So I walked around the bench and there was Lou Carpenter on the floor, he couldn't get up. And that was within the script altogether. I said, all right, I'll help you. So I took his arm and I bent the wrong way. And I ended up on the ground with him. And then the two of us had had enough experience to know we could turn this into a fantastic, because there was no other reason for the scene other than to show how these two men had got to a stage where they were not as young as they used to be. So I started to laugh and laugh and laugh. And Tom got onto it. He said, what are you laughing at? I said, look at the two of us. We're stupid, we can't even get up. And then he said, well, there's nothing and he started to laugh. And it ended up being a 3-minute laughing scene. It was like laughing in church. And we got congratulations from the UK on that scene.
Wow.
It's just a matter of what you can do when you're cheeky enough.
Now, for those that don't know, what was a typical day in the writer's room on Prisoner like? Because obviously you weren't at the set, you were in another
Well,
location.
the writers wrote at home.
Okay.
The storyline department sat down together and worked out probably 2 weeks worth of stories. My probation time with Prisoner, I was working in a place called Dirty Dick's. Do you remember? Yeah, I was being
Queen's Road.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been King Henry VIII in Dirty Dick's. And one of the minstrels came up and said, would you care to try out to be a script editor? I said, yeah, all right, don't know what to do, but I'll give it a go. And so I got in there just in time for them to sit down and work out the stories for the end of the year and to create a book to bring the people back for the next year. And I spent a whole day sitting down with these very experienced people and trying to work out a cliffhanger for the end of the year. And it was impossible because they'd covered every story there was to cover. I had a sneaking suspicion that I had a reasonable story, but I thought, no, shut up, Ian. You're the new kid on the block. And anyway, in the end, Ian Bradley, the boss, producer executive, said, okay, Ian, you got an idea? And I said, well, yeah, maybe. So I told him. And it's when, what's his name, the screw, his wife and kid got blown up at the hotel.
Jim Fletcher.
Jim Fletcher. And that was the story. And I said it, and then there was a silence of, and then words happened. Words like, shit, Jesus Christ, holy hell. and I knew that my period of probation was over. A couple of actors didn't like me because I killed them. But it worked. It's amazing what can happen in a story. To me, that's the hardest part of making a television program. To keep making stories, make-believe, cowboys and Indians, that will hopefully hold the audience and not say, not have them say, oh, come on, God. I do that, but that's me. I used to edit a transcript once upon a time. I could look at or read anything without trying to edit it, make it better, or cut it out altogether. But that's television. I love it.
You wrote another amazing scene, an episode where Linda Stoner, who played Eve Wilder, got hung. That was you wrote that episode. I'm not sure if you remember it.
See, I can't remember.
That was a horrific episode.
Oh, yes. Right. She was hanged, yes.
They actually put up a warning because it was that.
That's right, yes. Well, that's what you have to do.
In Sydney they did, I don't know about.
Well,
in Sydney.
what goes to Sydney goes everywhere.
Was it
Yes.
Fan Laggy, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it was pretty graphic.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And it was really shocking at the time, it really was shocking.
It was.
It shocked.
Yes, the 2 feet
Yes.
in front of the camera. Usually it was a member of the cast. A member of the crew.
What was the second one? Because in the first episode, one of the girls hung herself in the.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was it. Completed in
In
Yeah.
Free.
Can anyone remember this? Hi, Frankie, do you love me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,